results, as you can see on the screen, we had Raphael Warnock at 49.4%, Herschel Walker at 48.5%. Hello everyone, welcome back to Luis Discusses Everything. In today's video, we're going to discuss the 2022 Georgia senatorial runoffs, right? At this point in time, on December 4th, 2022, we are done with the 2022 midterms, with the exception of this particular race, the Georgia senatorial runoff. At this point in time, the Democrats have already clinched the Senate. This is an foregone conclusion. They've gotten to 50 seats, plus the vice president as the tiebreaker. So if the Democrats lose this Senate seat in Georgia, they will not be affected. I'm going to give you guys kind of like my takeaway from it. Who do I think is going to win, given that we're only 2 days away from that senatorial runoff. So far in the polls, we see that Raphael Warnock has consistently been leading in the polls, with like two notable exceptions being the Phillips Academy, funded by the Abbott Academy Fund, has Walker up by 1. We're also seeing the Federal polls, which is a B/C rated pollster. They have both of them even. But in most of these polls, Warnock has been up by at least 2 percentage points. And it's due to the fact that in the original senatorial race, in the Georgia Senate runoff, you had on the top of the ticket Brian Kemp, the now re-elected governor of Georgia, won by a considerable margin in the final results of the race, and that, I think, propelled Herschel Walker considerably to be just under a percentage point behind Raphael Warnock. In the original results, as you can see on the screen, we had Raphael Warnock at 49.4%, Herschel Walker at 48.5%, and then Chase Oliver, the Libertarian candidate, at 2.1%. And this denotes two things, right? One, that there is 2% of the vote that is, if we assume that all of them are going to vote in the runoff, that is 2% of the vote that will be kind of like the deciding factor in the runoff. And second, that in contrast to previous years, most notably 2021, in the first round, the Democrat has won, right? So that already spells bad news for Walker, right? Another piece of bad news for Walker is the fact that, and take this with a grain of salt, that early voting was enormous, not only during the last cycle's runoff, but also in this cycle's runoff, and they are on track to break records. They already broke records during the 2022 original midterm election senatorial race, but they are on track to do that now. And another piece of bad news for Walker is the fact that he no longer has the popular governor on the top of the ticket, which will spell bad news for him, because if he doesn't have that like big jump in support, right, those split ticket voters going out to vote, I don't know how much enthusiasm Walker will have, especially in an off-year election such as or not an off-year election, but off-cycle election such as the 2022 runoff election. Something that's been floated by pundits on the Republican side is that the fact that Brian Kemp is no longer on the top of the ticket will spell good news for Walker, because he is now free to use the resources under his disposal to win this race, right? All of the campaign apparatus from the Brian Kemp campaign is helping Walker, hopefully across the finish line if you're a Republican supporter, of course. On the Warnock side, you have Obama campaigning on the trail, but a lot of resources poured into the Warnock campaign, which was already successful in the first round and will most likely be successful in the second round. And that brings me to my own prediction. Given that the Democrats are already at 50 seats, the arguments being made in favor of electing Warnock again this time around is that it will negate the power of Manchin. And given the recent railway amendment failure, that was brought down mainly by Manchin and other Republicans, I think that ammunition will be pretty strong, considering that now Pennsylvania Senator-elect John Fetterman, won with that particular argument of like, hey, if you elect me, I'll be the 51st vote, and I will negate the power of a person like Manchin, right? So I think that's a powerful argument for somebody like Warnock, right? I think Warnock will win, and I'm going to post this the day of the election, right? But before the votes are counted. I think Warnock will win, definitely. I don't think he's going to win by 7, 4, or even 3 percentage points. 2 percentage points, I think, is also a stretch. I think he will win by 1 or less than 1 percentage point this time around, simply because the runoff usually has less turnout, essentially. So the Democrats will have the 51st seat, and that will most likely negate the power of Manchin, but who knows? You still have Sinema, you still have other people, and you have Republicans controlling the House of Representatives, so we shall see. So thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe to the channel, share this video with your friends, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.